Welcome to Insight into Iceland for Day 5 of the Mid-Season Invitational, May 10th. We just wrapped up the Group B. We got one more group to finish off tomorrow. But let's talk about what happened today. So we had the group with Mad Lions, PSG Talon, Wildcats, and Pain Gaming. And, I think coming into this group, everybody expected Mad Lions and PSG to get out, and that is what ended up happening. But it didn't happen in a straightforward way. There were a lot of angst around some of these games and the way they played out. So let's look at what happened today. So we had, first of all, Mad Lions against the Infinity Wildcats, or Fast Pay Wildcats. Wildcats actually won. They took down Mad Lions, and that's what made the day start off in such an interesting way. It could have been really boring right from the start, but they took Mad down. Wildcats did a lot of ganking while Mad were focusing on the objectives. Humanoid had a game where he was really, really visible in both positive and negative ways, and I'd say on the whole he played pretty well. He was playing Zoe. He landed some really key bubbles. He was kind of picking apart Wildcats in some of the team fights, but then they had some really good catches on him. There was some, one key moment especially where, he went in with his Zoe R, and then they dropped a Leona ult right on where he was coming out and timed it well and caught him, picked it off. That led to a Baron take. I believe it was that pick that led to the Baron and an inhibitor and so on. And Wildcats managed to win that game. So things got really interesting. PSG had their game against Pain that could have, if it had gone the same way, make things even that much more interesting. But PSG managed to win that one out. Again, I think dragon stacking was a really big theme today, and it was really influential in winning a lot of these games, partly because, as we're all used to at this point, the value of the busts themselves is part of it, but a really big part is being able to force the opponents to approach and contest these dragons and getting favorable setups from it. So in this game, actually, it went the other way around. Sorry, when I look at my notes, PSG and PNG are so similar. So Pain were the ones stacking the dragons, but they actually failed to use that ability to control the map and force good setups, because they did create some good setups. They had Nar and LeBlanc trying to create flanks and access the back line, or Nar just kind of get in the middle of everybody with big ults, but they just didn't use those flanks effectively. They didn't manage to jump in and synchronize pinstring from two different angles, those kinds of things. So Maple on Zoe managed to pick them apart. Another great Zoe performance to start the day off. So PSG managed to win that one. Now the pressure is on Mad Lions, of course. Then we had Wildcats go up against PSG. PSG took care of business, won that one as well. Pretty clean from what I remember. It was back and forth this game. I shouldn't misrepresent it. But PSG won all the important team fights. There were team fights both directions, but PSG won the ones where there was an objective available afterwards, more or less. So they managed to get a Dragon Soul, again, more Dragon Stack, and get a Baron. There was an Elder Steel, but it didn't mean anything. So, then we had Mad Lions go up against Pain Gaming, and they had to take care of business on this one to finish things off, and it looked iffy. Pain Gaming had the upper hand in a lot of different parts of this game. They punished a Mad Lions level 1 invade, picked off Kaiser for first blood. Robo got a solo kill on Armut. He had a nice roam to mid to help catch out Humanoid. So PNG had a lead, but I believe this is a game, it's not in my notes, but I believe that Mad Lions were picking up the dragons as this was all happening, and that helped them to kind of secure this. They had some good moments where Pain were trying to set up flanks, and Mad would collapse on the flanker and kind of rush that setup, and Pain weren't crisp enough at getting that flank to actually close in and execute it. So it came down to a really key Baron fight, and Mad Lions won that fight. Their team fighting bailed them out, and that's how they won the game. Game 5, Pain Gaming against Wildcats. This game didn't matter. Both teams were out already, because at the point that Mad beat Pain, now we already knew the top two teams, and it only came down to who was going to get out first and second, which doesn't mean anything for the next phase. There is no seeding in that round. So it was just a for fun game, and they had a lot of fun, and BRTT had, unfortunately, his only good game of the tournament, really. So that was a fun one. And then it came down to PSG against Mad Lions, mostly for confidence and bragging rights. Again, it looked like it could go either way early on. Armut died to another solo kill, this time from Hanabi. There were good plays from both sides where they would read a setup from the opponent, and they'd jump somebody in that setup and rush and burst them out so the setup got broken apart. Both teams did that to each other in different moments. But again, another game where Mad were focusing on the dragons. They managed to stack them up. That gave them some control of what was going to be happening in the game. Kaiser had some good playmaking and engages. And then it really came down to, I think what broke the game open for Mad Lions was they made this really great Baron call. They rushed the Baron when PSG weren't quite ready to contest it. PSG got there a little late, tried to get a fight afterwards. River chased a little too hard with his Rumble ult and trying to force in there, but just got blown up to start it off because he was a little far away from the rest of his team. And Mad Lions won that team fight, and that's what ended the game for them, the Baron call and the team fight afterwards. So a couple of takeaways from the day overall. I just wanted to celebrate what Brazil accomplished in particular at this tournament, because I think given the way they played at international events recently, at Worlds last year and so on, I think people have been very down on Brazil for a while, and they've kind of earned a bit of, lack of hype in not very high expectations. But they came in and they played really well at the tournament overall, and I think overachieved what people would have expected from them. So happy to see that, and I hope that they can ride that confidence into Worlds and be a factor in that tournament. And happy to see, BRT be able to hold his head high with that last game. BRTT is such an iconic player, has been around for so long in the scene, so nice to see that from him. And on the Mad Lions front, I think they definitely don't feel good about the way that this stage of the tournament played out. The record was fine. If you just look at it kind of at a very high level view, they only lost one game against Wildcats at the start of today. They were 3-0 in the first round robin and, 5-1 overall. Like, why would you feel bad about that? But the way they got to that 5-1, Carzy actually said in an interview on the broadcast that he thought they would go 6-0. And so they only went 5-1. That's a step back from that. And honestly, with the level of play, they could have easily been 4-2. They might have even ended up 3-3, right? Like this was not a decisive 5-1 by any means. And Kaiser also said in a different interview that advancing felt like a relief to him. Like, oh, phew, we did it. We're not going to throw this thing away. And I think the nerves could definitely have been mounting on them there. So, I think they have some things to be a little bit proud of with the mental resilience they showed of, even with knowing that their level of play wasn't very high and that they had thrown away a game and all of these things, they did manage to take care of business and get some clutch team fights. They had gotten some mid-game leads or early game leads that they threw away in the mid-game, but they also managed to come back in the mid-game in games where they were behind, like the I believe the Pain Gaming one today. So, they have some things that they can look at and say, hey, we did this well, and, our early game has been solid, and we just, we know what we have to clean up, or presumably they have a good understanding of what they need to fix. But on the whole, like, they really should have expected better from themselves, and I think all of us did expect better from them, and if they want to position themselves as a contender for the tournament overall, they're going to need to be really productive in the next few days and raise the level of their play. Otherwise, I think it's not going to be, they're not going to reach the finals for sure. So we'll see what happens with them. I think you can have pretty good faith in their coaching staff. They have good folks over there working on that, and the players are very talented. And I think we've seen, Humanoid, Kaiser, Carzy have had some really good moments. Those three in particular, kind of the more veterans on the team. And I think you can have reasons for optimism, but you have to look beyond a few of the things that have happened in game to get there. We will see what happens with them tomorrow. Final day of the first stage. We'll see. Damwon presumably will tighten things up and close out, and we'll see whether Cloud9. They had been expected to go through as the second team from this group, but they've got a bit of an uphill climb. They have to go 2-1, probably guaranteed. And I mean, it's not completely impossible for them to go 3-0, but let's not reach too high. We'll find out whether they can do it. Or whether they're going to fall out, which would be, man, that'll make Reddit really interesting if Cloud9 don't succeed tomorrow. So, looking forward to that one. Let's watch it and find out what happens. And thanks for listening to today's recap.